You know that feeling when life seems almost too normal? When you wake up next to the person you love, share your coffee, laugh about small things, and believe that everything is just okay. That was me not long ago. I thought my life was steady, maybe not perfect, but comfortable enough to call happy. Hey everyone, before I start, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy real-life stories like this one. This one still hurts to tell, but maybe by sharing it, someone out there won't have to learn the same painful lesson I did. So let me start from the beginning. My name's Claire. I'm 30 years old, and for the past 4 years, I thought I was married to the man of my dreams. His name is Ethan, 32, smart, funny, confident, and the kind of guy everyone seems to like right away. We met at a friend's barbecue, and I swear the world blurred when we first talked. You know that movie moment when everything fades out except the person in front of you? That's how it felt. We talked for hours, exchanged numbers, and within weeks, we were inseparable. He made me feel safe, seen, chosen. And over time, I convinced myself that we had the kind of love people spend their whole lives looking for. The first couple of years were good, simple, peaceful even. We traveled when we could, worked hard, supported each other's goals. He'd call me his rock, and I'd call him my anchor. It became our thing. We used to joke that together we could survive any storm. But sometimes storms don't come from outside. They brew quietly inside the people you trust the most. I didn't see it coming. I didn't see him changing, or maybe I didn't want to. It started small, subtle. He'd roll his eyes when I reminded him about bills or asked him to pick up something from the store. He'd say things like, "All right, boss," with a grin that didn't quite reach his eyes. I'd laugh it off, thinking he was teasing. I never thought it meant anything deeper. Then, one weekend, everything changed. It was a Saturday morning. Ethan had gone for his usual jog, and I was tidying up the living room. I noticed his iPad on the couch. It was still on, and a few notifications popped up. I wasn't snooping. Honestly, I just glanced. But one message caught my eye. It was from a group chat labeled The Brotherhood. Now, Ethan's always been close with his 3 best friends, guys he's known since college. I figured it was just another thread full of memes and sports talk. But when I saw the preview of the message, my stomach dropped. The text read, "Can't tonight, boys. The warden says I've got chores," followed by a bunch of laughing emojis. The warden. At first, I thought, no way. That can't be me. But the next few messages made it very clear it was. Another guy replied, "Man, Claire's got you on lockdown." And Ethan sent back, "You know how it is. If I don't pick up groceries, she'll start the interrogation." They all sent gifs, chains, prison bars, one of a guy crying behind a cell door. And Ethan, he responded with, "Send help." I stood there frozen. The air in the room felt heavier somehow. The laughter on the screen didn't sound like harmless fun. It sounded cruel. I scrolled up, and the more I read, the worse it got. There were screenshots, my messages to him about small, everyday things. "Hey, can you grab milk on the way home? Don't forget we have dinner with my parents tomorrow." And next to each one, Ethan had added comments like, "Warden check-in number 27. Permission slip denied." Or worse, he'd caption them with fake quotes, things I never said, like, "You can't go out with your friends again this week." That was a lie. I never said that. Not once. I've always trusted him. I've never checked his phone, never told him he couldn't hang out with his friends. We had mutual respect, or at least I thought we did. But there it was, proof that behind my back, he was painting me as some controlling wife, a prison guard keeping him on a leash. All for what? So he could look cool in front of his friends. My heart was pounding so hard it hurt. I wanted to throw the iPad, to cry, to scream, but I couldn't move. I just sat down on the couch, staring at the screen as if maybe, somehow, the messages would change if I blinked long enough. I felt sick, physically sick, and the worst part, the conversation wasn't new. It had been going on for months. Months of jokes, all about me, about our marriage, my supposed rules, and how he had to report for duty whenever I texted him. I saw messages from vacations we'd taken, memes about conjugal visits. He'd even shared photos of me doing normal things like cooking or folding laundry with captions like, "Prison life, day 312. That was the moment something inside me cracked. It wasn't just betrayal. It was humiliation. The man I loved was laughing at me, turning me into a punchline. And the thought of his friends seeing me like that, believing those lies, made my skin crawl. I must have sat there for an hour just staring at the messages, numb. When Ethan came back from his jog, I didn't even realize he was home until he said, "Hey babe, you okay?" I looked up at him, holding his iPad. "Yeah," I said, my voice shaking. "I just found something interesting." He froze. Then that casual smirk he always had appeared on his face, and he said, "You went through my messages." I wanted to scream. "I didn't go through anything. Your iPad was unlocked. The messages just popped up." He walked over, took the iPad from my hands, and sighed like, "I was the one who'd done something wrong. Claire, come on. Don't tell me you're mad about that. It's just guy talk." "Guy talk," I repeated, my voice breaking. "You called me the Warden. You told your friends I control you. That I check your phone. You made me sound like some monster." He laughed, actually laughed. "Babe, it's just jokes. We all make fun of our wives. It's not serious." And that's when I realized he didn't even see the problem. To him, it wasn't betrayal or disrespect or cruelty. It was just humor. I tried to explain how it made me feel, how humiliating it was to see myself turned into a caricature for laughs. But he just shrugged and said, "You're being too sensitive." Too sensitive. Those two words hit harder than anything else. Because in that moment, I saw the truth. This wasn't about a few bad jokes. It was about the person he chose to be when no one was watching. Someone who'd rather lie than admit his friends might judge him for having a respectful relationship. I walked away, locked myself in our bedroom, and cried until my chest hurt. My mind was spinning. How long had he been doing this? Did his friends' wives know? Did they laugh too? I couldn't tell if I was angrier at him or at myself for not noticing sooner. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering if our entire marriage had been a lie. Every sweet word, every compliment, every "I love you" suddenly felt hollow. The next morning, Ethan acted like nothing happened. He made breakfast, hummed in the kitchen, even kissed my forehead before work, like we hadn't just shattered something sacred the night before. I watched him leave, and for the first time since we met, I didn't feel love. I felt empty. And as soon as the door closed, I opened my laptop and started writing this story, because I needed to get it out. I needed to make sense of the moment when the man I trusted most turned me into a joke. But here's the thing. As painful as it was to read those messages, a part of me wasn't just sad. It was curious. If he could lie about me so easily, what else could he be hiding? And that's where the real story begins. Because what I found next was much worse than a few cruel jokes. Part 2 coming soon. If you want to hear what really happened after that, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Trust me, you don't want to miss what I discovered next. When I woke up that next morning, the world felt different. Colder. Even the sunlight coming through the curtains looked dull. like it was reflecting how I felt inside. Ethan had left for work early. He didn't say much, just kissed my cheek like everything was fine. That kiss burned, because it wasn't love anymore, it was a mask. I sat at the kitchen table staring at my coffee, my thoughts racing in every direction. How long had he been lying to me? Did his friends think I was this overbearing wife who never let him breathe? And most of all, why did he need to make me the villain in his story? At first, I thought I'd let it go. I told myself maybe he's embarrassed to look soft in front of his friends. But deep down, I knew it wasn't that simple. There was something about the tone of those messages, the way they'd been written, the little details that didn't match our real life, that made me feel like there was more hiding beneath the surface. And I couldn't stop thinking about it. So that day, after a few hours of trying and failing to focus on work, I opened Ethan's iPad again. I didn't want to spy. I didn't want to turn into someone paranoid. But when someone breaks your trust that deeply, curiosity starts to feel like survival. The group chat was still open. And as I scrolled, I noticed something I hadn't seen the day before, an image file sent just a few days earlier. It wasn't of me. It was a photo of a fancy watch, Ethan's watch. Underneath, one of his friends had written, "Bro, are you sure selling it behind her back is a good idea?" My heart dropped. Selling it behind my back? Selling what? I tapped on the message thread and the conversation unfolded like a nightmare. Apparently, Ethan had been quietly selling some of our things, stuff I thought we still owned. A set of vintage speakers I inherited from my dad, an antique clock we'd bought together on our honeymoon, even a painting that used to hang above our couch, the one we joked would be our forever piece. And the worst part, he told his friends I didn't even notice because I was too busy micromanaging the house. He turned my trust into a punchline. Again. I felt a wave of anger so strong it made my hands shake. All those times I thought he was cleaning the garage or reorganizing the basement, he was actually listing our stuff online, and his friends knew. They all joked about it, calling it his secret liberation project. One even said, "Next step, sell her rules." I slammed the iPad shut, my chest tightening like I couldn't breathe. This wasn't just about humiliation anymore. This was betrayal on a level I couldn't ignore. I needed answers. I needed to know why. That night, when Ethan came home, I tried to act normal. I didn't want to start a fight before I had everything straight. He smiled, asked about my day, then went to shower. And while he was in there, I went into his office. He'd left his laptop open. For a second, I hesitated. But then I thought, no, he's the one who broke trust first. So I looked, and there it was. Emails, bank notifications, online listings. He'd sold at least 7 of our belongings over the past 3 months. Some were small, like his old camera. Others were valuable, worth thousands. The money had gone into a separate account, an account I didn't know existed. I felt my knees go weak. My marriage wasn't just built on lies anymore, it was built on secrets. When he came out of the shower, I was waiting for him in the living room. He froze when he saw me holding his laptop. "Claire," he said slowly, "what are you doing?" I stood up and looked him right in the eye. "I'm asking you one question. Why are you selling our things behind my back?" His face changed instantly, from confusion to guilt, then to anger. "Wow," he said, "so now you're spying on me too. First the iPad, now this. Stop trying to turn this around," I shouted. "Answer me, Ethan." "Why?" He rubbed his forehead like I was exhausting him. "Look," he said finally, "it's not what you think. I was just trying to clear space. And those old things, you didn't even care about them. Didn't care. I could barely get the words out. You sold my father's speakers, Ethan. He paused, then said without even a flicker of remorse, they were just collecting dust. I think that was the moment I stopped loving him, because a man who can sell something that meant that much to me and lie about it doesn't care about my heart at all. I remember whispering, "You lied to me." Again. And he just shrugged. "It's not lying if it doesn't matter," he said. Those words echoed in my mind like thunder. I walked past him, straight to our bedroom, and locked the door. He knocked a few times, said I was overreacting, then eventually gave up and slept on the couch. The next day, I couldn't even look at him. I called in sick to work and just sat at my desk, staring at the wall, thinking about every memory we'd built, every moment that now felt fake. I kept hearing his words, "It's not lying if it doesn't matter." But it did matter. Because love without honesty isn't love at all. Later that afternoon, while scrolling through the iPad again, because I just couldn't help myself, I saw a message that made my blood run cold. One of his friends had texted, "Dude, you better hope she never finds out about that sale." Ethan had replied, "She won't, trust me. The warden only sees what I let her." That line broke me. It wasn't just arrogance, it was pride. He was proud of deceiving me. And that made me realize something. If I kept waiting for him to tell the truth, I'd be waiting forever. So I decided to find it myself. That night, after he fell asleep on the couch, I quietly got up, grabbed his phone, and went to the guest room. I didn't want revenge. I wanted clarity. What I found wasn't what I expected. It wasn't just the jokes or the sales, it was the why. There were emails between him and someone named Mark T, a username I didn't recognize. In the messages, Ethan was negotiating prices not for our belongings, but for collectible items. He was flipping antiques for cash. And the kicker? He wasn't doing it for fun or to make extra money for us. He was in debt. Thousands of dollars in credit card debt, and he'd been hiding it from me. My heart sank deeper with every message. Late-night receipts, transfers, loans from shady websites. And then one final email from Mark. "Payment confirmed. You sure she won't find out?" Ethan replied, "She doesn't know a thing. The warden's too busy playing perfect wife." I covered my mouth and sobbed silently. The man I married didn't just lie, he built an entire persona behind my back. That night, I packed a small bag, just a few essentials. I wasn't ready to leave for good yet, but I needed space to think. So I drove to my sister's house an hour away. When she opened the door and saw my face, she didn't even ask questions. She just hugged me and said, "Tell me everything." And I did. Every message, every lie, every humiliating detail. She listened quietly, then said something I'll never forget. "Claire, love isn't supposed to make you doubt your worth. It's supposed to remind you of it." Her words stuck with me. For the next few days, I stayed there, ignoring Ethan's calls and messages. At first, he texted things like, "We need to talk," and "You're blowing this out of proportion." Then it turned into guilt trips. "I did it for us." And finally, insults. "You're acting like a child. No wonder I had to lie." Each message made it easier to stay away. But part of me still wanted closure. Not an apology. I knew he wasn't capable of that, but understanding. I wanted to see if he'd admit it face to face. So I went home 3 days later. When I walked in, he looked startled, maybe even nervous. The house felt different, emptier. And then I noticed the photo frames were gone. The ones with our wedding pictures. The shelves looked bare. "Ethan," I asked slowly, "where are our pictures?" He didn't answer right away. just stared at me, then said, "I thought you weren't coming back." That wasn't an answer. I took a step closer. "Where are they?" He sighed and said, "I sold the frames, okay? The frames, not the photos." He gestured toward a drawer. "They're in there." I opened it. There they were, our wedding photos, stacked like junk mail. Something inside me shattered for good, not because of the frames, but because of what it symbolized. Our memories meant nothing to him anymore. I looked at him one last time and said, "You can keep the house. You've already sold everything that made it a home." Then I walked out. I didn't know where my life was headed next, but I knew one thing for sure. I was done being the Warden. Done being the punchline in someone else's story. What happened after that? Well, that's where things got complicated. Because when a man like Ethan loses control, he doesn't just let go quietly. He fights to keep the image he built, even if it means dragging you down with him. Part 3 coming soon, and trust me, it's where everything unravels. If you've been following this story, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and stay tuned, because the next part changes everything. Leaving that house felt like tearing off a piece of my own skin. I didn't take much with me, just a suitcase, my laptop, and the wedding ring I hadn't yet found the courage to remove. But I promised myself one thing as I drove away into the night: I would never let Ethan make me feel small again. At my sister's place, I started piecing myself back together. She kept telling me I'd done the right thing. But there's something about betrayal that lingers. It echoes in your head long after you walk away. Every morning, I'd wake up half expecting a text from him saying, "I'm sorry." But instead, I got something worse. On the 4th day after I left, a message popped up on my phone. It wasn't from Ethan, it was from one of his friends. A guy named Luke, who'd been part of that group chat. He wrote, "Hey Claire, I just want you to know, not all of us agreed with what Ethan said. I didn't think it would go that far." That far? What did that mean? I replied, "What do you mean?" He didn't answer right away. Then a few minutes later, he sent another message. "He's been posting things about you in the group, stuff he shouldn't. You deserve to know." My stomach twisted. I asked, "Can you show me?" And a moment later, screenshots started flooding in. New messages. Not just jokes this time, flat-out lies. He told his friends that I'd left because I was crazy, that I'd been checking his phone for months. He claimed I was obsessed with controlling him, that I'd even threatened to ruin his career. None of it was true. Not a single word. But the worst part wasn't what he said. It was how his friends responded. They believed him. They laughed, saying things like, "Classic Warden meltdown," and "She finally snapped." I couldn't believe what I was reading. Ethan wasn't just defending himself, he was rewriting the story. And I had no voice to fight back. I remember staring at my phone, trembling, thinking, he's destroying me in real time. When my sister saw my face, she grabbed my hand and said, "You need to get ahead of this, Claire. Don't let him control the narrative." She was right. That night, I did something I never thought I'd do. I posted my side of the story online. Not under my real name, of course. I wrote it anonymously, like one of those true confessions you find on Reddit. I poured out everything, how I'd found the messages, the lies, the secret sales, even the fake image he created of me. I didn't exaggerate. I didn't insult him. I just told the truth. At first, I didn't expect anyone to read it. But within hours, the post blew up. Thousands of people commented, some sharing similar experiences, others offering words of support. They called what he did emotional manipulation, image control, even gaslighting. For the first time in weeks, I felt seen. But Ethan didn't take it well. Oh no. When he found out about the post, he called me in a rage. "Are you kidding me, Claire?" he yelled. "You humiliated me online." I kept my voice steady. "I didn't use your name." He laughed bitterly. "Doesn't matter. Everyone knows it's me. My friends have already sent it around. You made me look like a monster." "You did that yourself," I said quietly. That set him off. He screamed that I'd ruined his reputation, that I was trying to destroy his life. It was surreal, like he truly believed he was the victim. Then he said something that chilled me to my core. "If you don't take that post down, you'll regret it." I hung up immediately, my hands shaking. My sister called the police to ask about harassment laws. They told us as long as it was just threats over the phone and no physical harm, there wasn't much they could do, yet. But I didn't sleep that night. Every sound outside made me jump. The next day, Ethan showed up at my sister's house. He was standing in the driveway shouting my name, demanding I come talk like adults. My sister called the police again, and when they arrived, he left, but not before glaring at me through the window, his jaw tight with rage. That was the moment I realized I wasn't just dealing with lies anymore. I was dealing with control. He couldn't stand the fact that I'd taken my voice back. A few days later, I received a letter from his lawyer. He was threatening to sue me for defamation. It was absurd. I hadn't mentioned his name, our city, or any identifiable details. But it was enough to scare me. I showed the letter to a lawyer of my own, a kind, older woman who looked at it and said, "He's bluffing. This is intimidation. Don't give him the reaction he wants." Her words gave me strength. So instead of backing down, I did something bold. I wrote a follow-up post. Not out of anger, but out of clarity. I explained that sometimes the people who call you controlling are really just afraid of accountability. That respect in a relationship should never be a punchline, and that healing starts when you stop apologizing for being honest. The second post exploded even more than the first. It turned into a full conversation online about emotional abuse, locker room humor, and how women are often painted as villains just for having boundaries. I read every comment, tears streaming down my face, because for the first time in months, I didn't feel crazy. I felt free. Then something unexpected happened. Luke, the same friend who'd sent me the screenshots, reached out again. He said, "I think you should know, Ethan's been spiraling. He's losing friends. They're starting to see who he really is." I didn't respond right away. Part of me felt bad for Ethan. The other part remembered everything he'd done. But then Luke sent one last message. "He's still blaming you for everything, but we all know the truth now." That single sentence lifted a weight I didn't even realize I'd been carrying. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need to win. All I needed was for the truth to exist somewhere beyond my own heart. Weeks went by. I found a small apartment, got a new job in a nearby city, and started therapy. It wasn't easy, healing never is, but with each passing day, I started recognizing myself again. The laughter that had disappeared came back slowly, like sunlight after a storm. One day, I was scrolling online and stumbled upon a post from someone sharing my story. Not the version Ethan told, but mine. People were still talking about it, still learning from it. And in that moment, I realized something beautiful. Maybe the reason all of this happened wasn't just for me to lose a marriage, it was for me to find my voice. Because sometimes the end of one story is really the beginning of another. But just when I thought the chapter was closed, I got an email. No subject line, no greeting, just one sentence. "You think you won, but I'm not done." It was from Ethan. I stared at it for a long time, debating whether to reply. Then I deleted it. Because I finally understood. He could only keep hurting me if I kept giving him space in my story. And this story, it's mine now. where I finally find out what happened to Ethan after our fallout, and how karma caught up in the most unexpected way. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the ending. It was from Ethan. My heart skipped a beat as I hovered over the message. Part of me wanted to delete it without opening it, to erase his presence from my life completely. But another part, the one that still needed closure, couldn't resist. I clicked. The email was long, rambling, almost desperate. He wrote about how everything had gotten out of control, how he'd only wanted to make his friends laugh, and how I'd blown everything out of proportion. Then came the apology, or what he thought was one. "I didn't mean to hurt you, Claire," he wrote, "but you have to understand, guys joke like that all the time. I didn't think it mattered." I stared at the screen in disbelief. He still didn't get it. After everything, the lies, the humiliation, the threats, he still saw it all as a joke that had simply gone too far. He ended the email with, "If you ever want to talk, I'm here. Maybe we can start over." Start over? There was no version of reality where I'd ever go back. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Sometimes silence is louder than any words you could ever say. Weeks passed. The world kept spinning, and little by little my life began to feel like my own again. I painted the walls of my new apartment, adopted a small rescue cat, and even started taking evening classes in design, something I'd always wanted to do but never felt I had time for. Each small step felt like a quiet rebellion against the person I used to be, the woman who tiptoed around someone else's moods. Then one day, my lawyer called. She said Ethan had officially withdrawn his legal threats. Apparently, his friends had turned their backs on him completely after the truth came out. He'd been forced to face himself. I didn't feel joy or revenge. What I felt was peace. The kind of peace that comes when you finally stop waiting for someone else to make things right. Months later, I went back to my old neighborhood to pick up a few remaining things from storage. As I drove past the house we once shared, I noticed something strange. The front yard was empty. No fancy car, no shining ornaments, no laughter echoing from inside. Just silence. For a moment, I wondered if he was inside, if he'd changed, if he ever thought about me. But then I remembered all those nights I'd lain awake, trying to earn his respect. And I realized I didn't need the answer. That chapter was over. I stopped by the ocean on my way home. It was sunset, the sky painted in soft pinks and golds, and I stood there for a long time, letting the wind whip through my hair. In my hand was my wedding ring, the same one I'd carried with me since the night I left. I turned it over one last time, remembering the promise it was supposed to represent. Love, honesty, respect. All the things I'd given without asking for much in return. Then, with a deep breath, I threw it into the waves. It disappeared in an instant, swallowed by the sea. And with it, the weight I'd carried for far too long finally lifted. As I walked back to my car, my phone buzzed with a notification. A message from an unknown number. I froze for a moment before reading it. It said, "Thank you for sharing your story. You helped me find the courage to leave my own Ethan. I thought I was alone, but I'm not anymore." Tears welled up in my eyes. Because that was it. That was the reason it all happened. My pain had turned into someone else's strength. And that, to me, was the real closure. I smiled to myself, whispered a quiet thank you to the wind, and drove off toward the fading light. If you're still watching this, I just want to say thank you for being here. Stories like mine remind us that respect and love should never come at the cost of our dignity. If you've ever been made to feel small, know that you have every right to stand tall again. Don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who might need to hear it, and subscribe for more real stories that speak the truth. Because sometimes the bravest thing you can do is finally tell yours. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends.